What's up, party people? It's Dan, your basement guitar superstar. Today is another episode of Creator Spotlight, and I am with Rick Lambert, who is the frontman slash guitarist for an awesome band I just discovered on Instagram about a month ago called Empty Trail. And they have a new single out that is an absolute banger. So I want you guys to go listen to it. I'll post links to wherever you can find it in the description of the video. It's called World Split in Two. So Rick, thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, hey, talk to me about World Split in Two. I love that song, man. I think it's one of your best. It sounds like you were up to what, 20,000 streams as of yesterday or something?
It's around 30,000, but it's not just streams. It's kind of like everywhere that it's available right now. So if people are on YouTube, if they're on Apple Music, if they're on Spotify, collectively together, it's like 30,000 everywhere, views and streams, any way that you want to count it.
Okay.
So I'm very excited about it. It's very good.
Yeah, but that's still awesome for what it came out on the 1st.
Totally.
Okay, cool. So talk to me what that song's about, because I kind of am getting the vibe from it that, you know, you're providing a commentary on especially how like the US is right now, how everybody's so divided. Am I kind of reading that right? Or
yeah, I think it's really interesting because I was talking to somebody else about this as well in an interview. I was saying when I wrote it, I wasn't like specifically thinking about what was happening in the world. I mean, generally when I write music and lyrically, I don't know how other people write, but I try to just let my emotions kind of create the song. You know, sometimes like words and music just kind of ends up when the song's finished. I'm like, oh, that's what it's about. Sometimes, you know, sometimes I don't go with the complete intention, but I thought it's really cool because it does make sense. The way the world is right now, everything does seem to be really polarized. Everyone's taking very specific sides in both directions. And it's kind of a scary, interesting time, I guess, depending on how you feel about it. So yeah, I mean, the song is just really about that. Just in any way that you want to relate it, the world does feel like it is very split in two in many ways and very disconnected nowadays. So that's kind of my musical take on it. Sure.
I mean, is there anything specific that inspired you to write it? Like a certain event or anything?
In this case, no, not really. I guess my own feelings just based on, I don't know, like I said, I mean, I just feel like my more thought process in writing it was coming from a feeling of just that, once again, everything does seem to be so disconnected nowadays. It seems like everybody is, especially with maybe social media and just with everything being on your phone nowadays, everyone is very socially disconnected and kind of colder than I feel like people used to be. And it does kind of feel like, especially with all the events of everything going in the world, that the world is kind of like slowly going to just implode in many different ways.
Sure. And I feel like your song provides more of a hopeful message to that. I know in other interviews you've said it's, you know, you've mentioned writing from like the same perspective as a lot of like grunge musicians do, where it's kind of a little bit angsty, but I don't feel that way with this song. I feel like it's a hopeful message.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, I always like the conclusion of a song to be, you know, hopeful. I feel like a lot of the music that I've written kind of picks at maybe more sad topics, but always ends in a sense of, you know, well, I don't know what's going to happen, you know, hopeful sense, not just like it sucks, everything sucks, and that's the way it is. So
right. So how does that work then? Do you usually come up with lyrics first or music, or is it kind of a combination of both?
I would say it's generally a combination. I would like to say that I come up with lyrics first and, you know, build a song around it, but I've never really been that type of songwriter. Words are usually always the last thing that comes into play with a song. Now, an emotion and a context of the song, which maybe drives the lyrical content, happens before, but sometimes, you know, you let an emotion kind of go into anything that you're doing as a sponge. So maybe sometimes I have a guitar in my hand, I have, recording software setup. And depending on how I'm feeling, I'm going to come up with a good guitar riff or something that embodies a type of feeling. If it's like a sad thing, it's going to be like slower and more a certain way. And then you just kind of build off that. And I've always built off that, guitar riff, then maybe I'll try to throw a vocal line on it, and that feels perfect, and kind of change things back and forth until it kind of develops into a finished product.
Awesome. That's one of the things you're really great at, is having that harmony between the vocals and the guitar parts. That's one thing I've noticed about you that you're fantastic at. So
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So it sounds like I read your bio a little bit because I like to do my homework on people before I interview them. You moved to Austin from LA. What's the biggest difference you've noticed between the scenes, other than LA being so oversaturated with people? I mean, is the vibe markedly different? Are people more laid back? Are they more supportive of local bands?
Yeah, I mean, in Los Angeles, I would say, if I was to be honest, compared to Austin, I would say it's a little more saturated or competitive with people, because, most people that want to make it in the entertainment industry, whether it's music or become an actor or really anything, are thinking like, I'm going to move to LA. So it tends to kind of just breed, you don't run into a lot of people that it seems like are from Los Angeles. It's just everyone's very there to try to kind of move forward, succeed. So it's a very competitive atmosphere. I feel like with music, there potentially could be really big opportunities that you could run into, but also it's just I would say very hard to kind of get a foot in the door starting out there, because there's just so much going on. Austin has a more genuine atmosphere, I would say. At least when I first moved here, people seem a little more laid back. It isn't as competitive. It's a little more sincere in a lot of ways. Austin, maybe in the past couple of years, I've noticed is kind of turning into like a mini Hollywood. I think it's probably going to go more in that direction. But I would say, yeah, Austin's a little more laid back. I mean, obviously we have South by Southwest here, so that's always a fun time, and enjoyed it this past year.
Well, and even if it is getting that way, I mean, you guys have been around long enough and seem to have a big enough fan base that I don't think it doesn't seem like it'll affect you that much.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think, once again, like with anybody, if you just kind of get a foot in the door, then, kind of seems to work. But yeah.
Right. For sure. I'm going to tell you whose influences I hear in your music, and you tell me if I'm correct or not. Because I feel like you market yourself as a grunge band, but do you fully embrace that moniker, or are you more like, hey, we're hard rock with, that's very grunge influenced?
Yeah, I mean, I try to think what, grunge kind of has a tagline, right? So like, I mean, I don't really know specifically what grunge means, other than there's a lot of bands that kind of associate with it. So we always get compared to Alice in Chains, we get compared to Soundgarden, maybe Pearl Jam aspects. I've heard, that people, Stone Temple Pilots slightly. So I like to say grunge band because generally, or Nirvana, generally people who like these bands will probably find something in Empty Trail that they like. I personally have a lot of influence from like 80s metal too.
Right.
Like Megadeth,
Metallica and Megadeth and stuff, right? From reading your book.
Yeah, it was never my intention to kind of, create like a more that type of band, like an 80s thrash metal band, but I have like a lot of influences, and it probably bleeds through maybe like a little bit, maybe with, I was a really big fan of Megadeth. I really love Metallica. I mean, a lot of people do. One of the most popular metal bands on earth. A lot of like more 80s metal stuff that I'm really a fan of too. And then I have like newer influences, like, Royal Blood is a new band that's kind of through. I like Royal Blood. I mean, it's really awesome to see some new grunge-ish kind of at least influence styles that are making it somewhere that, the public, not everyone knows Royal Blood, of course, but, people that follow rock have heard of them. Same with the band called Highly Suspect, which I really like. So bands like that are cool, and they've influenced, the style or the music that I've created as well moving forward. But I would say that we're more, it's hard to say. Like, I don't know how people like hard rock, grunge, I feel like is kind of a good starting point, I think. But, if anybody else thinks something different, I'm happy to hear it.
Well, and like I said in that Instagram post where I said I was going to interview you this week, you fill that hole for me or that void for me that I feel like I've been missing since grunge kind of quote unquote died, or since people killed it in their minds. You guys fill that void for me. And I have to say, Rick, you and like the two other dudes I interviewed this week and Turquoise Gravestones have proven me wrong. And where I was wrong, Rick, is I thought that rock and roll was dead in the US, and you have played a huge role in proving me wrong in that.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Here's the other influence I'm hearing, and I want to know your thoughts on it. I am hearing a lot of like post-Institute era Bush influence in your music too. And I think that's super interesting.
It is super interesting. I will say, I love Bush, but I've never got really into Bush. So I think that's an interesting relation. So I like that though. I like that, it's like not really, I wouldn't say it's a direct influence in my music in any way. But I think that's cool still.
Sure. And then when you play, do you prefer like drop tunings and stuff? Like I know you mentioned Soundgarden, and they played in a lot of really odd tunings all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So like the first EP that was created for Empty Trail, I did actually in Los Angeles, and I hired two different drummers to play the drums on it. And I played bass guitar and sung on it, of course. And with those three songs, like starting out, we had like a drop B tuning. So everything's standard, and then just the E string is tuned to B. That's a Soundgarden thing that I kind of picked up from. One of them was in drop D, and then another one was, I forget the tuning name, but it was drop D on the low E string, and then the A string is tuned to G. So it creates like and it was also kind of I forget all the bands that have used it. It's kind of like almost like an open G tuning, I believe, but then the rest of the strings are the same. And then we did another song off the Bear record called Who, and that's in a very interesting tuning. And it's so funny, I haven't played it in so long, so I actually forget how it's tuned, but I know it's like, I think it's like an open D tuning. Anyways, with all this being said, we usually do drop D now. And the reason why is because until the point that we have like roadies and guitar techs that want to bring out like guitars in different tunings every song, it's just easier to kind of be like, well, I'm just going to stay in one tuning, most of the set list, and I'd have to keep switching guitars. So that's my thought process behind it.
So talk to me about how you got started playing guitar then, because I haven't seen anything about that on your bio or any of that.
Yeah. I started playing guitar when I was about 12 years old. I think, let's see, if I remember correctly, I think my father found a guitar, like funny, like in a dumpster or something. It was getting thrown. It was like an electric guitar. And I guess he just brought it home, like, hey, maybe my son wants to play with it. And I didn't really pay that much mind to it at first, but I think it was when I was 13 years old that I had a couple kids growing up that introduced me to Metallica. Like other kids maybe being introduced to the strange, the whole Stranger Things.
Right.
You watch Stranger Things?
I love Stranger Things. Yeah.
Well, like the Master of Puppets scene, and it's funny because it's cool because it's introducing maybe younger kids to metal who maybe it's like not cool at the moment to them, or they just haven't really heard it. So I think it's always a good thing. But anyways, going back to your thing, so I got into Metallica and I just fell in love with it. I don't know, it just really clicked with me. I remember looking at videos and watching the play, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then it just became kind of like world domination as far as like getting good at the guitar. So I would sit there with John Petrucci books and do all the shredding stuff and all that stuff for just like 6 hours a day when I was young. It's funny, I still have those chops, but with Empty Trail, I don't really lead with a lot of like shredding solos in the band. But I was totally like Paul Gilbert stuff was one of my influences guitar wise. Marty Friedman is a big influence as well. Just kind of like the way that I play with feeling, the way that he bends. I like how he bends with notes that are actually not in the key and he bends them up to a note. That's something that I find that I do, and I've totally got it from him. So yeah, I've started guitar playing when I was around 13, I got really into it, and that's why I have a lot of like metal influences, like a lot of like 80s metal, because I just feel like most of the shredding and most intense guitar playing came from like that area. Grunge music doesn't have great guitars, but I feel like all the really, fast, shreddy stuff, I was really into that. So
nice. So what was your first guitar then? Do you remember what brand and what model it was?
God, I don't. It was I don't remember. It's funny, I can see it in my head right now and I still have it, but I don't have it with me. I guess my parents have it like back home in Wisconsin.
So you're from Wisconsin. Nice.
I'm originally from Wisconsin. And I moved to Los Angeles when I was around 20, and I lived there for 3 years and then moved to Austin. I've been here ever since.
Okay, cool. Whereabouts in Wisconsin?
Franklin, Wisconsin. So that is 15 minutes south of Milwaukee, about southeast Wisconsin.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know exactly where that's at. It's between Milwaukee and Kenosha, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So what was your first good guitar then?
All right, let's go through it. So the first guitar was from the dumpster. I don't remember what it was. I think it started with an M. It's a really like small brand. Anyways, next guitar I kind of fiddled with was my mother's guitar. It was a classical guitar. I also don't remember what that was. After that, I had what's called it's Stag. It's called the Stag guitar.
Yeah.
It looked just like a BC Rich. It was black. It looked like BC Rich guitar is a black BC Rich. Stag was the brand, I remember. Then after that, I believe I had a Gibson Cherry Flying V, unlacquered, so it just was unfinished. Played a lot with that guitar. I remember that when I was around like 14, 15. Right now, I generally I have an Epiphone Les Paul that I use. And then I also have twin tone, what is it called? Oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting. Was it a Eastwood guitar? It was the same guitar that David Bowie used.
Oh, sure. Okay.
It's an interesting guitar. Is that
the one that's Les Paul shaped that has like the odd looking pickups in it that I've seen pictures of on your Instagram? Or
did you look at have you seen our Lost music video?
Yeah.
It's the guitar I'm using there.
Oh, sure. Okay.
It's like black and white guitar. And it's kind of an interesting guitar because it's really light. And I kind of like that because when I'm on stage, I just feel like kind of like move it around and stuff. And it's not like, when you get like a Gibson Les Paul and it's like, oh, my back hurts, the entire show. Even though they sound amazing, but have that one. And then I also have, what else do I have? I have a Dean Flying V as well, which I don't use much with Empty Trail, but I've used a lot with other bands I've been in.
And then your number one is that Fender Strat, right? The one you use in most of your videos.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one. The one that I'm usually seeing videos. Yeah, that one's just it's been my go-to. It just feels good and I like it. So
awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So what's your rig look like for amps and like your pedal board and all that?
Here I'll bring my pedal board over here. I'll show it to you. It's a Mesa Roadster, which uses my amp. Here, it's funny. I have my pedal board right here. I'll bring it over. Let's see. So in this guy, what do I have? If you want to sound just like Empty Trail. Oh, okay. So let's see what we got here. So I got a chorus, a Boss chorus pedal right here. Can you see it?
I see too. It looks like
here. There's cats here too. A Boss chorus pedal. Which I like to use sometimes just to kind of create like, sometimes when we're doing, there's more like clean parts or softer parts. I like to just throw the chorus on it sometimes. It just kind of creates a good vibe. I have this Whammy Digitech, which I use all the time. Sometimes I would just keep that on to just get like kind of a lower octave in the tone.
Sure.
And then kind of use it it just has a cool vibe to it that I like. The Crybaby from Hell, definitely like to throw this on when we have some solos. It has, what I like about this one, it has such an intense Crybaby wah sound. I feel like it's just kind of like on steroids, right?
Yeah, that's the dime bag one, right?
Yeah, that's really all I have. And then I just have a tuner. I'm a
Okay.
simple guy when it comes to pedal boards and stuff. And then I just use a distortion right through my amp.
Okay, I was going to ask about that because Mesas usually have. I mean, if I had a Mesa amp of some type, I don't think I would ever use a distortion pedal because you don't need to.
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth. I'm also, to be honest, I'm not super picky with like some guitar players are super picky when it comes to their tone, and kind of what makes their sound. And that's cool. I've just never been really that guitar player. I basically, as long as the amp or whatever I'm using is kind of in the ballpark or something I like, I can be happy with it.
Sure.
Yeah, that's me. So. Anyways, simple but good.
Sure. So what's kind of your 5 to 10 year plan for the band then? I know you've mentioned before that you don't want to do a full length album just because of the nature of the industry right now. Obviously some more EPs in the works, but I'm assuming you want to do it full time at some point.
Yeah, well, so I would love to just do full albums. I think many musicians would. It's just the truth is the way that people consume art nowadays. And I know there's some people that, still will do the full album and that's really good, but just the majority of people don't really do that. So it just makes more sense as artists nowadays to try to put out one song and try to get a lot of ears on it, try to make sure people hear it and stuff and move on to the next one and kind of do something more like that, just because everyone's very, ADD nowadays, especially with just, there it is. And they move on next thing, cat falling from the tree, like grabbed by a pigeon, and everyone's just so frantic when it comes to that stuff. So my 5 to 10 year plan, it's hard to say with goals in this music industry because you kind of just never really know what's going to happen. What I would love is to just keep putting out singles. I would like the most people in the world to hear these songs, try to kind of grow the fan base in that way. I appreciate doing this interview. Maybe some people who haven't heard of Empty Trail will go, hey, that's cool. Like I'll go give them a shot or go check it out. So that's kind of my goal for the next while, is just to keep trying to get the word out there about the band. Because like you said, rock isn't dead. Rock exists. It's just, I do think there needs to be some newer rock bands that are kind of getting to that level that everybody's hearing about them. And it's very hard nowadays to get people to notice so that a band can get to that level again. Yeah. And because of the industry, not that you're maybe asking this, but the record labels and stuff, it's very hard nowadays. So you don't have a lot of these rock record labels that are like, I love you guys, we're going to take you from zero to hero nowadays. They're kind of like, well, you guys got to figure out how you're going to get popular by yourself. And that's very hard. It's very hard nowadays. So my goal is to keep getting the word out there, keep releasing new music, keep playing shows here and there. If you're around the Texas area, we have a show July 29th at the Gray Horse, it's called, here in Austin, Texas. Then we have August 15th, opening for a band here in Austin. That's the CKY. Have you ever heard of the band CKY?
Yeah, I love CKY.
Cool. So yeah, their Frontman has a new band. So we'll be opening for them here in Austin, August 15th. And then August 27th, we have a show in San Antonio, and I'm not completely sure who's going to be playing with it. All I know is it's at the Rock Box.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's all we really have booked for shows. We definitely want to hit the road, but the nature of the industry right now is kind of like, it doesn't make complete sense to hit the road unless we get like a right opportunity. That's how I'll say it. Right.
Well, and especially with gas prices being so egregious, you guys, I'm sure to make any money or make it make sense, you'd have to be making $400 or $500 per show per guy, right? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's true. So, if we got an opportunity, like someone's like, hey, we'll pay for the tour and stuff, like we'll go do it. But right now it's like, bands have to be really smart with that, because you're right with the gas price, and even without the gas prices, it's just very hard, for bands nowadays. So with the gas prices, it's almost just like a death sentence for now. So
yeah, where all have you guys toured at? Are you mostly staying in Texas, or have you gone kind of
out to the East Coast, West Coast? let's see, all the way to New York and back, that type of deal, which is fun. Yeah, I mean, it's a good time. It's definitely fun, but that was kind of before COVID and stuff. So we haven't really toured anywhere since after COVID.
Right.
So once the right opportunity opens up, totally game for it. We'd love to do that, but that's kind of like realistically where it's at right now.
Okay. So kind of piggybacking off of what you said about COVID, how do you feel that the reception to live shows in your area has been pre-COVID versus post-COVID?
I mean, I feel like right now we're it's kind of normal now to at least from what I'm experiencing. I mean, I do feel like COVID put a hitch in a lot of people's plans, and it kind of maybe messed a couple aspects up business-wise behind with the bands and people that, have to do with that. But as far as like people going out to music, it feels pretty the way it was before now.
Okay. So
I know
like there's been a huge influx of like now all of a sudden 20 or 30% more people come out than were beforehand then.
Right. I think like initially, like if you want to ask that maybe like, when the restrictions started to stop and people could go out, like I remember when people would start to go out and everyone would just wear masks and they would sit in seats 6 feet apart. And that was kind of a thing. And then after that kind of happened, people were like, I want to get out. I want to go see shows. I want to be social again. And I did see an influx, but now I feel like we're kind of back. Like they're like, okay, it's kind of like comfortable place now. And it feels to me similar, at least from my experience, to where it was.
Okay.
Before COVID.
I mean, it sounds like from other musicians I've talked to from that area that like Austin and Dallas, Fort Worth in general are pretty supportive of live music. Is that kind of, I mean, am I hearing that right?
Yeah, I would say they're supportive. Like you mean like the fans or the people
like
that want to
people actually go to shows and stuff? Because like here in Iowa, before COVID, like it's all cover bands or tribute bands that are drawing people, and the original bands, for lack of a better term, like it's like pulling teeth to get people to go to shows. And now post COVID, all original bands are drawn like crazy, and it's really great to see. And that was not happening before COVID hit.
Yeah, that is great to see. It's like once again, it's always with an original band, and especially when you're trying to find your way forward in the music industry, it's very difficult to, get people out at first because nobody knows your music. They're like, who are you? Like, why do I want to see your music? But yeah, I mean, Austin is supportive, obviously supportive of live music, and to some degree supportive of new artists. I mean, they have the tagline like music capital of the world. And
right.
I don't know if I completely see that anymore, to be honest. Maybe people will not like that I say that, but it's I think at one time it was kind of a little more flourishing. Now it's kind of, they say that, but I think some aspects they could treat newer bands a little bit better to help them or facilitate them forward in some ways. But
Sure. Well, dude, here are my favorite songs that you have. So World Split in Two, obviously.
Love it.
And I Pray.
Oh, I love it.
The Last Time, Reality, and Being Used, I think are my top 5.
I love it. Awesome.
So, I mean, are those in your set list normally?
The Last Time is in our set list now. Being Used is not in our set list. Reality's always been in our set list for a long time. As I Pray. Oh my God, I got my own song title wrong. That one we've never played live.
Really?
I'd like to. I'm glad that you like it because personally, as an artist, I love that song, but I feel like many of our fans didn't connect with that one as strongly as I would have hoped, because that's one of my favorites.
I think that's one of your best bangers in terms of guitar part.
I appreciate it. There were some things that were like a little, I had fun creating that because I feel like some stuff was a little more like, I wouldn't normally do that. And I don't normally hear something done this way. I'm going to try something a little different. So it was a little more kind of fun in that way.
Sure. So and I don't have a ton else for you, but Let's say a brand new band would come to you for advice. What's something that you know now that you wish you would have known when you started?
I wish I would have known to whatever your music is, or the way that you do things to some degree, and obviously you should be somewhat coachable and moldable. You shouldn't be like, this is just the way it is, that this is the way our music sounds, that's it. But I do think it's really important to, whatever your music is or whatever you're doing that you believe in, to stick with that, no matter what other people are saying. Because everybody, music people in the music industry, other people that you think maybe could help your career, maybe just fans to some degree. I mean, take what they're saying critically, but you have to understand too that music is very subjective, and there's people that will absolutely hate something that you do and say, this is shit. You guys don't have, I'm sorry if I can't swear. This is really bad. I don't know if you guys can get this together. And then you're going to have other people that are literally going to be like, actually, I really love that. And you just have to stick with what you're doing. And even though you may be getting some kind of like peanut gallery people saying whatever, stay the course. Don't keep bending your art and moving back and forth to try to appease people, because in my experience, I've done that a little bit, and it hasn't. Do what I said. That's what I would say to a new band. Trust in yourself, believe in what you're doing. And just, if you like it, that's the most important part. Make yourself happy, and you will find other people that also like what you do. You just have to find the people that like what you do, because that's what makes art different.
Right. So what are you working on guitar right now? Anything specific?
Like, what do you mean specifically?
Well, like, for instance, one of the questions that's going to come up that I might as well ask you now is there anything technique wise where maybe at one point you got stuck when you felt like, God, I'm not progressing at all, that kind of helped you break out of that? Like anything specific, learning pentatonic scales or triads or stuff like that you're working on right now, or any certain styles of music that you feel like have helped you advance more than others?
As of recently, not really. I actually also teach music lessons.
Oh,
so
you
I give guitar lessons. I teach guitar, I teach bass, I teach drums, I teach singing, music production, music theory. At this point, I don't really actually sit down and practice guitar anymore. But if I was to teach people or tell them what I would want them to learn from guitar, I mean, I have a lot of things that have worked for me in the past, very technical things. Like I said, I mean, one of these books that I used a lot when I was learning guitar was, I forgot what the title of the book, but it was John Petrucci's book. And I would just sit there with the metronome and practice all those exercises, starting the low E string and going 1, 2, 3, 4, A string, 1, 2, 3, 4, D string, 1, 2, 3, 4, and going all the way up the neck, which you get to the high E string, and then moving your pinky up, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, going to the B string, 5, 4, 3, 2, and go all the way back down while also alternate picking, right? And that's just really good because you're connecting your dexterity of your fingers and kind of like, linking it together. And if you have the willpower of practicing with the metronome, slowly going up in speed, so that it's accurate, so you're getting faster, but it's also very accurate and clean. That's a great technique. There's a lot of other arpeggios, like string skipping arpeggios that I use to practice that would help you alternate pick, but also skip strings, right? Sweep picking was something that I remember practicing a lot. You could do a 3-string sweep pick, like a major sweep picking, 7 on the G string, 8 in the B string, 7 in the high E string. Then you go, hit the 10 on the high E string, and then come back 7, 8, 7, right, and then alternate picking by sweep picking. All this stuff is great to practice. And then, practicing, improvising over stuff. We actually have a couple songs like Reality. What we do live is the last section of the song. It's in C minor. It's just kind of a jam section. So I'll just every single time, I probably do some things by not paying attention that are the same stuff that I do every time, but it's just kind of an open jam session. So I'll just improvise and play anything over C minor, and we'll just kind of look at each other and be like, end of the song, and, end it.
Sure.
Which is always fun. I don't have like tons of box shapes memorized all over the neck, simply just because I don't need that. I just have all the positions and stuff that I need, and I just use those, And yeah, but I mean, I could talk all about this too. So
now, is that like the stuff you just mentioned? Is that things you're finding that most students get hung up on then?
I don't know. I think it's different for everybody, really. I mean, I think every student that I've taught, I mean, I've been teaching for like 6 years now, 7 years. And I mean, every student that I have, I mean, depending on how far they want to take the guitar, you know, I mean, everybody is going to have a different part that they're maybe confused at, or sometimes I find like sometimes people like are maybe overthinking something a little more than they should. Sometimes they just need like a boost of, yeah, I get it. And they just need like a boost of confidence being like, you got this. Like you do know what you're doing. Like, you know, and as a teacher, I like to, if anything, give more confidence to my students of being like, keep going. You're doing good. Like just trust in what you're playing. Like it does sound good, because people can be very critical on themselves, which I understand. I've been the same. So
now, are you taking on any new students? So if somebody watching wants to take guitar lessons, can they get a hold of you, or are you not taking on new students?
I'd be down with that. Yeah, just I guess for now, message the Empty Trail page. If you know, if you're in Austin, if you happen to be in Austin, you know, I could come to you some days as long as I'm available. Once again, depending what's happening with the band, sometimes I might not be in town, or we could do Zoom or Skype lessons. I'd be cool with that too. Yeah. They can contact me through the Empty Trail page if you want music theory knowledge or any guitar or anything. You know, I'm here to help. So
awesome. And one last thing, Rick, I love watching the live footage of you guys on your YouTube and on your Instagram specifically. Is there any chance that we're going to see an Empty Trail live in concert DVD at all?
DVD?
Yeah, or like a full concert on YouTube, because I love watching you guys live.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's all short snippets on there. So. Yeah,
that's true. Full stream on YouTube. There actually is a stream. There's a stream from our last show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it is our last show. Yeah, we played at a place called Kick Butt Coffee, and the whole show is actually there.
Okay, can you send me the link and I'll put it in the description?
Yeah, and it's like all the videos that I'm posting are actually reposts of that full video. So I'll send it to you. You can look at that. You know, I mean, if we get the opportunity to play some of these bigger festivals, you know, that would be a great situation. I'd love to live stream that or get like some pro footage of the whole thing. That would be awesome. But yeah, you can expect some more stuff for sure.
Awesome. Speaking of
probably not a DVD though. Actually, if somebody wants to manufacture a specific DVD for that, that'd be awesome. But that might be a hard sell for the majority of people. I don't know how many people have like want to do DVDs nowadays.
Well, see, I'm old school. I like owning hard copies of stuff because I've lost my iTunes library twice now, and neither time did they honor any of my purchases. So I just decided everything now is either going to be on Spotify or I'm going to own a hard copy of it.
I mean, I love it. If it was up to me, if I could control everything, I wish it was the place that we still had records. I wish it could be like, this is the record. Like, look at, like, it's in my hand. It's awesome. Like, I can see the needle play it. Like, I would love that, you know? So, and honestly, if we turn this into like a full EP, we'll probably manufacture some actual records so that, you know, because it's more of like a novelty thing. And I'd love people to, you know, buy that. Totally. I mean, I'm all about the physical copies as well.
Awesome. Well, dude, I don't have anything else for you. Is there anything I haven't asked you about that you want to talk about, either about your music or about what you have coming up or any of that?
I don't think so. I mean, I could say maybe updates. Anybody who's following along can probably expect a new single coming out maybe in a month to a month and a half. If you like the band, if you like what you hear, something that really helps, repost stuff, share things, you know, you can make a TikTok video, use the song, anything to help get the word out helps us so greatly, so much. Even like, you know, commenting or liking, it's so funny the way that things work nowadays. Even just commenting or liking tells the little stupid Instagram computer that more people should see it. So that's very helpful. If you're in Austin, like I said, we have a show 29th of July, August 15th, August 27th in San Antonio. And then we have something in September, which I haven't announced yet. And then, yeah, follow along. New music, more content. It'll be good. Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, that was Rick Lambert from Empty Trail. Rick, thank you again for joining me. I appreciate it. And for those of you watching, again, I will post as many places as you can find Rick and Empty Trail's music as possible in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching and have fun playing.